Welcome to my channel. Today we will be speaking on Collider 2Ds. Collider 2D component defines shape of a 2D game object for physical collisions. The Collider 2D types used with rigid body 2D game objects are Circle Collider 2D. The Circle Collider 2D works with round circular objects. As an example, in this project, I have a ball and a log. The ball is of round shape. So what I can do is add a collider that matches the shape of the ball. So the best shape that matches the shape of the ball is a circle collider. The way to add a circle collider is by clicking on this add component and writing Circle Collider 2D. Now it's barely visible. So in order to make it visible, we have to click on this edit collider. So this is the point where you can edit the circle collider, but at present it is very small. So what we can do is we can increase this radius to say 100 to the point that we can see the points or the edges where we can drag the collider and match it to the game object. So this is my Circle Collider 2D. Next is the Box Collider 2D. The Box Collider 2D works well with rectangular objects. So going back to the example, I can drag and drop a box-like shape onto the scene. Oops, it is a little big. So I need to give a box shape. So I'll scale it down to say X on 100 and Y on 5. Now since this has a box shape, I can attach a collider, like for example add component Box Collider 2D. Now in order to view the colliders, I have to click on edit collider. So I can see the points from where I can click onto those points and edit these colliders. For example like this. So this is about Box Collider. Next is the Polygon Collider. The Polygon Collider 2D works best with complex shapes. So going back to the example, so we already have the ball which has a circle collider, the box which has a box collider, and we have a log. Now the log does not have a fixed shape. So what type of collider can we attach to it? So at this point we can add a Polygon Collider 2D to the box or the log. So the way to do is you can click on add component and write Polygon Collider 2D. You can see that there is a collider that comes all the sides of the game object. That is, it covers the entire game object. And one more thing to notice here is that the polygon is of closed shape. Whenever you select the Polygon Collider, always remember that it will have a closed shape. You cannot have any of the sides open. So this is all about the Polygon Collider 2D. Next is the Edge Collider 2D. The Edge Collider 2D works well for surfaces. Coming back to the example, we can see that the log has a Polygon Collider attached to it. That means if any game object collides with any of the side of this log, it will make a collision. But I want that the collision happens on only one side of the log. In such a case, I can make use of an Edge Collider 2D. So the way to do here is I'll just disable this box for you, and I'll click on the log and I'll remove this Polygon Collider and I'll add the component Edge Collider 2D. Now Edge Collider 2D is made up of many points which are connected by edges. So the way to set the Edge Collider onto the game object is by selecting the edit collider first and then going onto the collider and dragging it using any of the point. You have to match it to the game object in a precise manner. So the advantage of the Edge Collider over Polygon Collider is that the Edge Collider does not have to be of a closed shape. If I want to make a collision that happens on only one side of the game object, like for log in this example, then I can use an Edge Collider with only one side of it that can be collided with. So this is about the Edge Collider 2D. You have to understand that the Edge Collider and the Polygon Collider 2D are both similar in some sense, but the only difference between them is that one is of a closed shape and the other can be of an open shape. Next is the Capsule Collider 2D. The Capsule Collider 2D is for objects that have a capsule shape. Next is the Composite Collider 2D. The Composite Collider 2D component does not have a shape. It combines the shapes of any box or Polygon Collider 2D into one big collider. Coming back to the example, I'll enable this box again. It already has a box collider to it, and I'll drag and drop a hexagon, and I'll add a Polygon Collider to it. Now I want to have a collider that is the combination of both these colliders. If you look at the box, you'll see that the collider passes through the hexagon, and if you see the hexagon, you will have a collider that passes through the box. So I want a collider that is made up of the outer edges of both these shapes. So in this example, what I can do is I can use a Composite Collider 2D. The way to do that is by going to the canvas, creating an empty game object. I'll call it parent. I'll attach both the box and the hexagon to the parent game object. Now box and hexagon are the children of this parent. And in the parent, I'll add a component named Composite Collider 2D. But in order to make this a composite collider, what I need to do is I need to select the box and I need to tick the Used by Composite property. Same way for the hexagon, I'll click the Used by Composite property. Now if I click on the parent, I'll see that the collider is made up of the outer edges of both these shapes. The one passing through in between these two shapes have disappeared. So this is the advantage of the Composite Collider 2D. Another advantage is that whenever you have to make changes to any of the individual children, you don't have to do so. You can directly make the changes in the parent, and the changes will directly be applied to the children or automatically applied to the children. So this is about Composite Collider 2D. All colliders share two properties, ease trigger and material. When ease trigger property is checked, the collider becomes a trigger collider and it won't participate in collisions. Instead, it sends messages when collision is triggered. As for an example, for better clarity, I'll disable this parent Composite Collider 2D and I run this game. Currently what happens is the ball collides with the log and it goes away or it drifts away. But when I go to the log and select the ease trigger property of the Edge Collider attached onto it, what happens is that the ball will not make any contact with the log, because now the collider attached to the log has become a trigger collider. What trigger collider does is it won't take part in the collisions, but at the point where the ball is going to touch the log, it will send a message to the calling script, and the calling script can make any changes or give any direction to the game as he or she likes. So I'll run this for you now. You can see the ball will go through the log, but at this point when it is going to touch the log, the ease trigger will be activated and it will send a message to the calling script from where any new script can be or code can be executed. So this is the ease trigger property of collider. The material property defines how colliders will react when they collide and define both bounciness and friction of the collider surface. So what this is saying is, we'll take the example. When we run this game, the ball falls onto the log, but it does not bounce as much as we would like it to bounce. So how do you fix this? Now if you check the ball and the collider attached to it, you can see that it has a material. You can attach a material to this collider of the ball game object and specify in the material what kind of material it is. So the way to create a material is by right-clicking on the empty space and clicking on Create, clicking on Physics Material 2D. You can rename this to Bouncy, and when you select the material, you will see there are two properties to it, friction and bounciness. So here we want that the ball bounces nicely. So what we can do is you can set this value to 1. Save it. Go to the ball game object, go to its collider portion. Here in the material slot, just drag and drop this bouncy material and run this game. Now you can see that the ball is bouncing as you would like it to. So this is what the physics 2D material does. You can attach any type of material to a game object and it can have the appropriate bounciness or the friction that you would like to have. The used by effector checkbox is used for some special physics effects. For example, when you want to create a platform with collision on only one side. So to understand this, let's go back to Unity. I'll delete this parent game object for clarity. Let's drag and drop this box again to the scene. Change its shape. Add Box Collider 2D to it. Now here, when I run this game, what happens is that the ball collides with the platform on the top portion. I want that when the ball touches the top portion, it doesn't collide, but when it bounces back from the log, then it should collide on the lower portion of the platform. So this is here where you can make use of used by effector. But in order to tick this used by effector, you need to have something attached to this platform. Like for example, you need to have a platform effector 2D. Now, after adding this component or attaching this component to the platform, we have to tick the used by effector tick box or checkbox. Now you'll see a line and an arc have come on top of the platform. Now the side where you want to get the collision is the side where the arc is. So currently the arc is at the top portion, hence the ball will make collision on the top portion of the platform. But I want that the collision happens on the bottom portion, so I need to get this arc to the bottom. So the way to do this is by selecting the rotational offset property of the platform effector and changing it to 180 degrees. Now if I run this game, you'll see that the collision doesn't occur from the top, but the collision happens from the bottom. I'll run this once again for you. As the ball approaches, it won't collide on the top portion, but it will just go through it, and then it will bounce and then hit back on the lower portion of the platform. The offset property is to change the position of the collider with respect to the game object. So as an example, we'll go back to the project. If you see the ball, it has a collider that is Circle Collider. I'll just zoom it up a little bit. I want that the collider attached to this ball shifts to the right side. So The offset is basically for that purpose. If you wanted to shift it to the right side or on the x-axis, you can just change this value by, say for example, 100. So what happens is the collider moves to the right. And if you want it to move on the y-axis, you can just give the value on the y attribute. So it will go up or bottom. So the offset property of the collider is to basically displace the collider from the game object on the x-axis or on the y-axis. I hope you liked this video on Collider 2D. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon so you get notified of the new video that I post here on YouTube. Thank you for watching.